So let's talk a little bit about, in a customized environment, you've seen over a couple of years now that you've kind of grown into it and gotten used to it. Where are areas where you feel like you have more freedom than you would in a traditional setting?
So one of the major things is I'm involved in a ton of things in high school, just organizations, FFA, hosts a debate, things like that. And for sure this program allows students who are involved in that many things, a lot of students, me and others, who have a lot of stuff going on outside of school and we need to miss school for things. That's one huge area of freedom that you're basically working at your own pace and you're doing your own things, and that curriculum is laid out for you. So if you were to miss a day for something, it's not a big deal and you can make it up and you can talk to your teachers, and it's really easy, way easier than a traditional setting would be. So that's one major thing. And then just working at your own pace, the freedom of being able to take longer on a subject if you need, and being able to move through something faster if you need to as well. That freedom is just it's hard to come by. It's really great in the mod versus traditional, because you can just really focus in on something you like and do something that you like more than you could in a traditional settings.
Sure. You mentioned that sometimes you just need to stop and work on something more, and I think one of the misperceptions teachers have is that, well, once they work longer on something, now they're always behind. But do you find that's a problem, or do you find that you can find ways to catch up if you want?
So off of that, I think that definitely if you're taking longer on something, you might get behind a little bit, but because the course is laid out as it is, basically you walk into the class the first day of school and you have the entire course in front of you, which can be super overwhelming for new kids and things like that. But because the course is laid out like that, you can basically do measurement topics and things like that way faster than you could previously, and you can even submit things online, like in social science and things like that, and the teacher will go in and just put complete and move you on to the next step, and you can do that without even going into the classroom. So if you were to take longer on something because you needed to, you definitely have room to catch up there because of how this program is laid out and because of how the course is laid out. So.
From your standpoint, are there times when you have the term that we often use is voice and choice, student voice, student choice? Do you have opportunities for choice, or is it still kind of limited yet?
Well, it's definitely improved a lot since I first started this program when I was a freshman. I'm a junior. The choice, it was still there starting, but it was just more interesting. We were all getting into it now. They've expanded it, so there are they give you you can do this step 3, you can do this step 3, you can do this step 3, and you can look at the projects, you can see what you want to do, see what would work best for you. You can make a presentation, or you can write a speech, you can do this. And it basically any way you're showing your mastery, but you can pick the way that you want to do it. And additionally, looking at subject matter, if you're looking at if you want to do psychology and social science or history or this, you don't necessarily have to do them all. You pick 3, so you can pick psychology, sociology, and U.S. history, and then you don't have to do the government or things like that until you get to them later. But that's a huge thing, because if you're not interested in something but you're super interested in something else, you can definitely choose to do that thing over another, and then you can just take your time in doing it and figure it out and do things that you're interested in. So.
In a more traditional setting, you might get a percentage grade, things you've done over time, and maybe just a summary grade at the end. But how do you get feedback in this kind of environment as to whether you're on track, whether you're doing what you should be doing, that you're actually progressing in your work?
So again, with that, this was a huge struggle freshman year, because it was mostly even parents and kids who are really worried about the grades and things, but parents were freaking out because they're like, oh, our kid, we don't know what they're doing or whether they're doing anything or things like that. So they did start every midterm, I think it is, they give out progress reports, and it says each of your classes, it does give you a letter grade, and then it also says this student has 15% of the LTs done for the year, or 20%, and so where you are in the year, it shows you you're this far done with the course, you're this far done, you should know where you're at. Like if you're at semester, you should be 50% done with the course. So that gives you and your parents an idea of where you're supposed to be, and that's a big thing when they started that, because then you can figure that out. So that's definitely a huge thing. And then also just in terms of teacher feedback on Schoology, the program we use, once you submit something, immediately or almost immediately, the teachers are all really good at giving you grades, so they can put like comments, they can put like things like that. So if you didn't get like a complete or a 3 or what you wanted, they'll say like why, and then you can just go in, fix that, submit it again, and then they'll give you more feedback. So that's a huge thing as well. We're using that technology to help advance the students in the program as well, and that's huge for the program as well. It's really beneficial.
In this process of feedback and all that, what is the relationship with the teacher like in this setting?
So we still, I guess next year they're starting the new scheduling thing, but right now we still, for the most part, go to class until you're done with the class, but you continuously go to the class. And the relationship with the teacher, I think, is a lot more meaningful than it would be in a traditional setting, because in a traditional setting, you're sitting there and basically you just listen to the teacher lecture every day, and you like get, it's kind of like a distant relationship. In this setting, once you finish a level 3 or project, you need to talk to the teacher and present to the teacher and have like one-on-one conversations with the teachers, things that would not happen in traditional. So I think that relationship is a lot more meaningful, and like you get a lot more meaningful feedback as well from the teachers because of those one-on-one conversations that you're getting. So.
A lot of schools that go to this environment, they may have lots of meetings for parents and that, but sometimes it's really hard for parents to really understand this because it's different than the way they learned. Where were your parents on this? Was this something that was hard to get? Is it still tough? Do they get a clue? Do they understand how this works?
We actually started out freshman year. Me or my parents, neither of us liked the program. Well, I don't know if we liked it. They didn't really understand it, and I didn't necessarily understand it either because we were just kind of thrown into it. It was interesting, but they actually did do a really good. We had it was like every couple weeks they had like a thing in the theater where all the parents came. You could ask questions, get things, and also they gave they updated the program so that our parents could also log in and see our progress and see what we're getting done and what's due and where we are in terms of pacing. And once that started as well, parents kind of started to calm down. They started to understand what was going on. And then also we do, like, if a parent wants to come and walk through and see what's going on and see the program, meet the teachers, things like that, you can do that as well, just to kind of lessen those fears that the parents have. And because of that, and because of for sure the logging in thing and seeing where your kid is at, that definitely improved a lot because parents can see that their kids are actually doing something and they're not just kind of, so that was beneficial.
Now that progress checker, is that something that the teachers have to fill out, or is that something that you actually contribute to? How does that actually monitor your progress?
Okay, so it's basically, the midterm papers that we get, that's the thing that the teacher does, and they say this student is like 45% done with the course, and then you bring that home to your parents and they can see that or whatever. But the online thing, they just gave the parents all passwords like at the beginning of the year so they can also log on to the same thing that we see. So all the completes and 3s and things that the teachers put in, our parents can go in and see the exact same thing that we see, and they can see that, see our progress basically. So.
Okay, so they're pretty much seeing the same thing.
Yeah, yep, exactly the same thing.
Okay. In a customized environment, is it possible for a kid who just doesn't feel like working to actually succeed in that environment?
No, you have to have some sort of motivation somewhere coming from something. You have to have a motivation to want to do it, and a lot of kids have issues with the motivation. I know freshman year I had an issue with that, and everyone had an issue with it coming in, and it was just really interesting to see that evolve, I guess. Once you were in the program and once you started to understand it, you started to want to get things done so that you can get out of that class and do other things, or so you can move on and so you can do this. And once that started, yes, but no, I don't think that, I think this program is too difficult for a kid who doesn't want to do anything to succeed in. And I know they slip by in traditional settings and, you get your grade and you move on, but you can't slip by with an F or with a C or with a D in the mod. You have to show mastery of some sort. So I don't think a kid who doesn't want to do anything could succeed. You have to have motivation of some sort.
From your standpoint, are there students that just don't do well in this environment?
I think so, yeah, but I think those kids have also switched back to traditional, which they get the option every year. We get the option to choose, and I think most of the kids who did not work well in this environment have switched back. There might be a few, but I think for the most part, the kids who are still in this program want to be in this program and want to succeed and want to actually master the subject matter that we're learning. So,
some people perceive that customized learning is only best for the top flyers, the top kids, the academic kids who are already succeeding. Are there kids other than that do well in this environment?
For sure. There's kids who, I don't know if they necessarily did well before in traditional. They just kind of were those kids who just kind of slid by and got their grade and moved on. There's kids who have come into this program who have just excelled beyond belief because of the way that it's laid out, and because they don't need to sit there and listen to a teacher talk all the time. They can go and do it themselves. They can learn. They can research. They can talk to their peers. They can do things like that. And I think that there's a lot of kids who didn't necessarily succeed in traditional who have come to the mod and who have just shot ahead. So I think that there's definitely a correlation between that, and I think that there's kids who definitely came into the mod and just proved people wrong, I guess.
So if you were the superintendent, you were the principal, what things would you change in the current system right now to make it even better?
So since freshman year, I think that there's been a lot of things that have improved, and I think that next year, that scheduling thing, I think, as I understand it, we're coming in in the morning and we're typing in the classes that we need to go to, and then they'll put us in a schedule with kids who are at the same place as us in those classes, and doing that every day and even customizing even more, that's really cool, because then one thing that I would definitely change is the group the group work and things like that isn't necessarily as strong as it could be, I think, but with the scheduling thing that they're trying to implement next year, I think that could definitely improve if you're putting you in a class with kids who are at the same spot as you, so that there's not issues and another issue is you are in a class, and then there's obviously there's one teacher, and then there's a lot of kids who are all in different places, so it takes a while to you have to wait in line to ask a teacher a question. Everyone's at different places, so they have to process where the kids are at. So but like I said, that scheduling, putting kids in the same spot, the teacher could probably just even do a small direct instruction day or something like that to tell the kids what they need to know so that they can continue moving forward if they're at the same spot. So it's definitely an improvement.
I'm sure that you run into some teachers that really do well with customized, and maybe some that are struggle a little bit or whatever. What in your mind makes a good customized learning teacher? What kind of characteristics do you see in the best teachers in customized?
For one, organization is key. They need to organization of the materials, of putting their stuff on Schoology, of letting kids know due dates and things like that, because they have to have that whole course laid out, and they have to have a pacing guide where you're supposed to be and things like that. And if that's not there, it's kind of hard. I mean, I've experienced that even freshman year, there were still, and they were getting into it too, so there's no one to blame, but just being in a class where there's not a pacing guide and where you don't know where you're supposed to be or what you're supposed to be doing, organization is a huge thing. And also a teacher who can just kind of relinquish control in a way and just say, all right, they don't feel the need to give direct instruction every day and just control the class entirely. They can step back and let kids kind of do things by themselves and just have those conversations to make sure everyone's on pace and where they're supposed to be. But besides that, if they can just step back and let kids kind of do their thing, I think that's a huge thing as well. So.
You mentioned the pre-work that teachers need to do in the setting up and all that. Have you seen where there are certain way teachers do things in the pre-work that just make it work better than others? I mean, is it?
Yeah, I think that, I guess in terms of pre-work, I don't really know all that's involved, but a lot of them, you don't really have to change it much from a traditional setting, besides you have to put it into steps, obviously, and do things like that. But in terms of material and things like that, as long as they're not trying to completely reinvent everything that they had in the previous setting. I think that's good, because that would be completely time consuming. And also teachers who try to make videos for themselves, I mean, that's really good, but also like looking on YouTube and things like that and taking videos, they're pretty much the same thing. So if you can find the videos for that course subject, you wouldn't have to make those as well, and that would put them ahead. But in terms of organization, things like that, yeah, I think just looking at those things would probably help a teacher.
What kind of interpersonal skills do teachers need in this environment? It sounds like you do a lot more interaction.
Yeah.
So what makes a good teacher on the personal skills?
I think they just have to be willing to talk, I guess. If they're someone who don't want to sit down with a kid and talk about the material and do that and have that personal relationship, and they just want to talk to a whole class and they're not comfortable with that, that would definitely be a problem, because they need to be able to talk to the kid about what they're doing and talk to small groups and kids individually. And also they need to be able to just, for the most part, just talk to kids individually and be able to have those conversations to have a successful relationship.
Sometimes people say, well, in this environment, the kids are so isolated, they're off doing their own thing. Their teachers don't teach anymore. What would be your response to that that's really not the case?
So I've actually heard a lot of kids are like, oh, you joined the mod, you're signing up not to get taught, like things like that. Kids who have switched, and I think to a certain extent you need to understand that the mod is placing a lot of responsibility on the student, and it's allowing the student to excel and organize and do things that they'll need later in life and learn those skills while they're in a protected environment. And so with the mod, really that's like the main thing they need to learn, that organization. They need to do that thing, and that's you're not signing up not to get taught. The teacher will always be there to answer your questions and help you, but they're allowing you to step back, take a look at the material, kind of choose your own path and choose what you want to do, and really just excel on your own without people telling you what you need to do and micromanaging you and doing this. It's giving you freedom, and so you're definitely not signing up to not get taught or doing anything like that. There'll always be someone there to help you, someone there with answers, someone there to guide you in your learning, but for sure it's giving you the freedom that you need to learn the skills that you'll need later in life.